Okay, Mac O'Grady, everyone. So you can see what we were talking about earlier with um, kind of going through the lower body pivot and where the shins are at P6. P6 is right about here. You can see the shins are tilted, like I was saying before with Mr. Hogan there. They're definitely left of the ankles. Knees are left of the feet, um, shifting that lower body from its start line. So it's always a good idea if you can to put a stick in front of you as a center line, like Max got here, and to give you some reference. Peripherally, you can see it, and then if you look at the video later, um, you can go there. So when I do online lessons, I always draw lines, and we talk about centers and where you're shifting or not shifting, and giving us some real reference points so you can train yourself um, for better alignments and figure this stuff out together. So hop in there and grab a online lesson when you get a minute. They're super beneficial. The Paul at gormergolf.com. The positions here that I want to call out at impact are like the boss. So right hip, right shoulder, right elbow, all in line with each other at impact. You got the center of the body right now, and you can see that center between the shoulders. He winds up, and then Max starts to shift, right? Starting to shift the tailbone to the left foot. The upper body's gone along for the ride. So now he's shifted upper lower naturally over. Okay. So there's no sway gap going on. It's just beautiful. And then you can even go call out the right knee. So we got the right knee, the right hip, the right elbow, the right shoulder, right ear, all lined up at the collision of the ball. And that's paramount for compression. All right, let's just talk about the hips and how to use them, everyone, for good compression on the golf ball. We're going to point out some things here with Ben Hogan. You can see how at in our world here, anyway, it's my world with other instructors. P2 is when the shaft's level to the ground. P3 is when the left arm's level to the ground. P4 is the top. P5 is left arm level to the ground again. P6 is left shaft level again. P7 is impact. 8 would be shaft level again. Right arm level at P9 to the finish, P10. All right, let's talk about where things are. Um, he's loading into that right leg. You can see that. He's turned that right hip back. It looks very easy to do. It's not like, straining to get into that right leg, but he's loaded over to the right side and coiled. And now from here, he falls off that leg. And a good place to look for you guys is at P6 here. You can see that both shins are facing ahead of the ankles. Okay? So for those of you that don't know how to do that, you try to get your knees to the left of your feet as you're looking down as a right-hander there, obviously. That's a real good thing just to go hit balls halfway, swing halfway back at like P3. And that's what Ben's doing about here, 3.4, small swings and no recocking on that side. The other thing I wanted to say was like when you examine which, if you consider his whole hip girdle or belt as a container full of water, he is spilling water over his belt buckle. So that arrow is saying that the hips or belt buckle are pointing down, right? So do they stay down? If you are in the camp of, well, yeah, and then from here, you just want to take that left hip and turn it back this way and clear out, then you would stay in that forward bend. You wouldn't go into extension because as early extension is a no-no, right? Well, in this case, you're going to see Mr. Hogan here go into extension of the tailbone from P6 to that ball. He's actually going into it right here. So at this point here, from the front view, his hips would look kind of flat. You know, he's tucked his tailbone under. He is not really rotating. If you look at the pocket of his left pant, I'm going to point it right there, you'll notice that it's not really continuing to rotate towards us, the camera, right? So what's releasing is the tailbone under. And now the belt buckle is starting to rise to the sky out this way. And this is super important just to evaluate your thoughts on what you think hip action is and start to really pay attention to like the anatomy. And for safety, he's tucking the tailbone, which is like really good for the lumbar spine, which is the low back spine right there. And it is the, you know, the pendulum that's going from the up position to down to back up again. If you just clear the hip towards us, that left hip towards us, then again, you're going to be bent over the ground still, and you won't be going into this extension, which is also powerful, and moving the club out of the ground. So it's very clear when you look at this and you watch just a few times that you can examine what's going on here. All right. And so I've always said it looks like when he's swinging really fast, Hogan looks like he slams the right hip up and to the left. Now this one, like I said, he's hitting a little half swing, looks like slower speed action. There we go. So it doesn't look like he's putting a bunch of power into it, but when you watch faster swings, you'll see, especially with driver, that foot drag like Scotty Scheffler, and he slams that right hip up into the thing, into the left hip. So really interesting. Understanding, okay, so what do I do from here on the way down, guys? You know, you're going, do I clear the left hip? Do I not? How do I use that pelvis different? Well, that tailbone's being tucked under and moving forward. The right elbow, right shoulder are working together forward, releasing everything to the target. You know, that's really great. All right, this is a great view. Again, the back view, rear view of Mr. Hogan here. And, you know, you want to talk about Scotty Scheffler. Is he like Nicholas? Is he who's he like? Similar to a Hogan, man. Look at Hogan's right foot sliding. Damn, that thing is moving. Back here, watch that foot. Dragging forward, slamming the right hip up and to the left. So he is not spinning the left hip towards us only. He's clearing it out, but now he's moving that tailbone. You can just see him squeezing his glutes there, right? That whole clenching, thrusting, and really pumping that right hip up and to the left. I'll play it sung, you know. Well, a little music there, but super great action. You can just see the flow there. So not just spinning the hips, tucking the tailbone, letting that right hip just drag up and slam in like Scotty. And then the arms continue to roll or move via the chest. So Hogan turned the chest with the arms in front more than anybody. You can see how supple Hogan's arms are, folding those elbows, letting the arms kind of die off at the end. So I thought that would be fun for you guys to look at. Just look at the lower body action again.
All right, so you signed up for Morad. That's awesome. Mac O'Grady, one of the hardest hitting golf ball that I've ever heard in my 2003 school with him, Vegas. So what you're going to learn here is how to set your body on the ground, how to get your center of balance, your center of gravity, as we say, pivoting, keeping yourself organized with your head, the wrist joints, how they set, to accelerate the club down with the pivot train. Right side coming through, elbow, hip, shoulder, everything accelerating through with a bunch of speed and balance. Mac looked the smoothest as anybody, like a Ben Hogan.